is a global network of editors, journalists, and publishers committed to press freedom, independent journalism, and innovation in media. Our press freedom team monitors reports on the threats to journalists, while our independent journalism support programs really seek to provide solutions to some of the pressing challenges facing the industry. IPI's media innovation team, founded around 3 years ago, designs and delivers programs that support experimentation and creative confidence and product development in independent publishers facing a variety of challenges, from audience fragmentation to a low willingness to pay, to the high production costs of investigative journalism, to the competition of quality content with viral misinformation and much more. We aim in this department to provide the infrastructure for experimentation and strategy for future-proofing your media organizations. This includes funding, training, advising media organizations through our accelerators, and access to our peer-to-peer network of innovators, and really building community around the world with organizations and creators and media makers that are invested in innovation in independent newsrooms. Our series of newsroom visits, which in the past have taken us to India, Lebanon, South Africa, El Salvador, Pakistan, Norway, create space for independent media to tell their story to an audience of media builders in every part of the world. As I mentioned, the goal is to bring you an inside look into how your peer media organizations around the world manage operations, how they strategize for growth, what technology they're building and how do they use it, how are they navigating crises, and much more. Today, we really have the pleasure of visiting El Clip. This is a collaborative investigative journalism project out of Latin America, which serves its consumers across its website and partner organizations. Its hope is to strengthen the investigative ecosystem in the region and really ensure that journalists have the tools, the data, and the access to help to really hold power to account. We'll really be focusing in on this question of tools and data today as it fits into the operations of investigative journalists. And we'll really learn a lot more about their organization and a specific tool they've developed called Nina, which is a collaborative database that enables journalists to access every kind of public document, contract, and data set in Latin America to do the journalism that matters. We'll be hearing from 4 of their team members: Emiliana García, their general manager; Rigoberta Carvalho, their information architect and tech lead; Jose Luis, their community editor; and Angela Cantador, a journalist with El Clip. A quick note on ground rules. So after around 45 minutes of their presentation, we'll then moderate a question and answer session. The presentation will be recorded, so you can look back on the recorded version later on, and we'll distribute that through IPI's newsletter and on our website. And if you have questions, you can throw them into the question and answer into the chat, or we'll open up a Q&A formally after their presentation. So Emiliana, without further ado, please do take over, and we're really happy to have you here and to join us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan, for the presentation. Hello, everyone. Thank you, International Press Institute, for inviting CLIP to share our data community, Nina, with your audience. We're very happy that you create this space for us. Slide next, please, Jose. Let me tell you a little bit about CLIP, the Centro Latinoamericano de Investigación Periodística. In English, the Latin American Center for Investigative Journalism. CLIP weaves the ecosystem of investigative journalism in Latin America while fostering collaborative cross-border investigations in the public interest, and articulate them with communities that are defending the public interest and democracy in the region. CLIP has led or participated in 45 cross-border collaborative organizations in the region, and partnering with more than 140 media and civil societies organizations. With our own technological data team, we develop tools to facilitate collaborations and journalistic research. Our team developed NINA, a data community for Latin America. So in the next screen, this is a screenshot of NINA's homepage. Later in the presentation, my colleagues will show you how to navigate it. But what does NINA do? So NINA optimizes work times because in a single search, it allows you to obtain all the information available in the databases connected to NINA. So data about public procurement. So you find information about the company, the entity, or person that you're investigating. Mostly you can find out if they have public contract in the region or if they have sanctions, but there's much more to find here. So a little bit more about NINA and what is this data community. So it's a data commons that connect 40 databases of 21 countries and also CLIP's own databases. It is a research tool that allows journalists to quickly search public procurement databases and other public and private databases from various countries in the region, all in one search. To cross-reference information between countries, speeding up their investigations, and to learn how to use tech tools for their investigations.
Next.
So NINA was planned back in 2019. At the same time, we were planning to create CLIP. We envision NINA as a decentralized data common for Latin America, a hub that connects with other hubs more than one center with all the data in it. So because, collaboration in CLIP is key in everything that we do. And so NINA is not exemption for this. From the very beginning, we were able to see the tremendous potential NINA has to find or speed up stories. And so after winning a grant from Google News Initiative, we launched NINA in 2020. In the next slide, I will tell you more about the process of populating NINA. But before, I want to explain a little bit about what is the road that we take when it comes to choose which country we should update data from or upload data from. Why did we start, for example, with Nicaragua and Costa Rica and not Chile and Brazil? In some cases, our stories are the one that take us to scrape data or connect IPAs to NINA. Such was the case of SECOP from Colombia, the public contracting database we have to navigate for a story about a murdered journalist investigating corruption in that country. In other occasions, such as the case with Nicaragua, we had to scrape public contract due to lack of transparency and lack of local hub. Sometimes we know that leaders in a country are planning on blocking access to public data, and so we must focus on that country. And finally, in some countries, the public contracting databases are so organized and so clean and so ready and easy to navigate and connect with IPA that, we go and we start with them as well, such as Costa Rica. Next slide, please. So a little bit of a timeline, so sort of like how was the process. By 2021, NINA had data from 17 countries from Latin America and API connection with Open Corporate, Sayari, and from sanctioned websites. By 2022, we continue connecting NINA with other APIs, and we published the first stories. My colleagues will tell you more about them later. Another very important activity that we do at CLIP are workshops on how to use NINA. We have organized 12 workshops and also participate in over 25 webinars and conferences where we talk about NINA. Jose, this is like the other one. The workshops are super useful because they provide many outcomes. We find possible stories. We have new users in NINA. We can transfer technological knowledge to participants, and we receive feedback on UX experience and unsatisfied needs. So, for example, during a workshop, a journalist wanted to connect his database with NINA to cross-reference some names. And that sparks the idea of creating DAPIs, a tool to enable partners to share their structured data with NINA from their own hard drives via IPA. In 2023, we connected NINA with OCCRP data center, Aleph, and with data from Bolivia, as well as continue updating data from public platforms and connected NINA with new countries. By last year, we had data from 21 countries in Latin America, API connection with FUNES, which is the data center of Ojo Público from Peru. And we developed new tools to improve the work of journalists using NINA, such as a chat box with AI and a document browser. The reason to have a chat box is because much of the key information about companies and their activities is contained in documents, which journalists have to consult for their investigations. So this work can be automated with NINA, allowed processing of files, PDF, images, etc., so that the journalists can interact with the information through an IA-supported chat and quickly find what they're looking for. Our plans for this year, 2025, is to launch 2 new data hubs developed by CLIP in alliance with partners from Guatemala and Honduras, and that will be connected to NINA. And we expect to continue help creating other data hubs. The roles in the creation of these new hubs are also collaborative. Again, CLIP always work collaboratively. CLIP brings development technology, but doesn't storage the data, nor own the new hub. Our partners are in charge of maintenance to assure the quality of the data, and they own the hub. As of today, NINA has 412 users. And you can see in the next slide, what are the countries that we have connected to NINA, the 21 countries. And in the next slides, you can see the sources. These are all the sources that you can find in NINA. When we go through the demo, you can see how can you select the country and the sources, or if you want all of them. And next will be Rigoberto Carvajal, CLIP Information Architect, who will be taking you deeper into how NINA works.
Thanks, Emiliana. Okay, NINA is becoming a global database, but what makes it different to other global databases is the way it works. So we realized that we don't have the resources to gather all the data from the entire world, because this requires many computational needs and also time to keep the data updated, and it is very expensive to have a database to manage that. So what we saw is an opportunity in the modern application architecture. So next slide. Okay, the modern applications have these components. So they have a user interface that is separated from what we call the backend or the API. So this API is what manages the request between what the user wants and the work with the database. So all the applications today are built this way. So almost all of them has an API available. So OpenCorporate's ICIA Offshore Leaks database, OCCRP Aleph has an API, and so we saw this opportunity to take advantage of all these APIs available, because if we wanted to connect all the databases in these applications, so because we saw the need from investigative journalists that when they want or when they need to investigate a company or a person, they go to all of these data sources. So they goes to the ICIA of Leaks, to Aleph, to Open Corporates, to Sayari, and this requires time to search in all these web applications. So we wanted to build a web application that allows us to find or search in all these web applications from a single view, from a single page. So now in the next slide, please. So when a journalist is using Nina, all these searches they send are sent to all these to all the mapped APIs. So we are using the API from Periodística, from Open Corporates, from Open Sanctions, from Funes in Ojo Público, and more of these APIs. So the real magic of Nina is that all these APIs speaks like different languages because they have different parameters or they have different responses. So Nina makes this translation. Nina has the ability to map all these APIs to convert the responses or the requests from these APIs in a standard structure. So this way, any response from different APIs can be shown in a single in the same way in the web interface. So we have these APIs, and also we have what we have named mini Ninas, which is the section here down. So they are like instances of the same software, Nina, but they are deployed in different countries, and they are used by media associations. Like we are deploying a mini Nina in El Salvador, a mini Nina in Honduras, and a mini Nina in Guatemala, and we have gathered data, scraped data from all these countries. So the journalists are using their local data sets, and they can share this data with the rest of the community from the Nina community. And also the mini Ninas can search in the Nina. So Nina is working as a hub. This way, a user using the mini Nina in Guatemala can search or can get information from Funes in Ojo Público. So this allows us to initiate collaborations between the organizations and share it and have a radical sharing from with data. Yeah, please next slide. So this is okay. Inside Nina, we also have different components because we have the user interface. It has also a master API. This master API is who is managing all the connections, all the communication with all the rest of the APIs. And also we have a component which is Nina Docs. This allows us to upload documents, and also it extracts the text from all the documents. It applies OCR and extract entity extraction, and it allowed us to index all the text and finding the document. And also now we have this new feature, which is chat with the document that we will show you later. And also we have another component, which is DAPIS. The name is DAPIS. It allowed us to upload structured data and serve easily a new API. It automatically deploys an API when we upload like an Excel file or CSV. So we only have to upload these files, and now we can get new data sets in the web, in the Nina web application. So basically, this is Nina, and now Angela will show you the demonstration.
Yes, hi everyone, nice to meet you all. So to illustrate what Emiliana and Rigo have explained, we thought that a short demo could be very useful to better understand how Nina works. And I say short because of the time, but we encourage you all to approach it if you have any doubts or if you want to know more about it. And of course, we invite you to create an account at Nina and explore it by yourself. So Jose is going to help me with these slides. You move to the next one. Perfect. Thank you. No, sorry,
no.
the one before. So keeping in mind that one of the main purpose of Nina is to helping saving time, the first thing you should know is that Nina allows 4 types of searches that can be run on structured and unstructured data. And what does it? Structured data are those data sets that have unstructured, like CSV files, Excel files, among others. And whereas when we talk about unstructured data, we refer to that information compiled in files, in archives, in documents that has no structure. For example, the information that can be contained in a court file. And I'm sure you all know that this type of data is the most valuable, is usually the most valuable information for an investigation. And it has to be located, collected, and sorted. So it takes a significant amount of time. And we all know that something that journalists usually don't have is time. So with this first difference clear, for structured data, we can perform 2 types of search. The first one is called the standard search, and I think this is the most typical, most common type of search. It is basically consists to look for some different types of entities like person, company. And the second one is the batch search, that briefly it allows you to perform like multiple searches at the same time. And for unstructured data, we can also perform 2 types of search. The document search, by using optical character recognition, we can look for a key information in the documents. And I think this probably sounds familiar to you if you are used to pinpoint, but Nina provides more confidentiality, more options. For example, you can add filters to this search. And last but not least, we have what we call knowledge data search, that by using AI, you can chat with documents of your interest. And the great advantage of that is that you can limit the access to your documents, and the tool is not going to use this information like for feed other knowledge bases located in Nina, so your information will be safe and remain confidential. So, Jose, if you can move to the next slide, please. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, to this one. So this is how Nina's standard search looks like. And we must say, and Rigo just advanced it, what makes Nina different from other data commons is that with a single search, you can realize if a name appears in several data sets, which is pretty useful and makes Nina like the perfect tool to start an investigation, because it can give you several clues just really quickly. So here, as we can see, we can search like 5 entities in Nina that are companies, entities, persons, contracts, and documents. But for this exercise, for this live demo, we are going to focus on company search. So Jose, if you can go to Nina in order to start the demo. Yes, perfect, thank you. So a few years ago, we were following a Costa Rican construction company called Constructora Meco, because we had the suspicion that despite his CEO was in jail for corruption, the company continued to win several public contracts in all Latin America. So we decided to use Nina to see if we found some additional information about that. And the first thing we did was to look for the mother company, the one located in Costa Rica. So because we want to do a first general research to see what we found, and we want to get as much information as we can, we start by selecting category. In this case is companies, because we were looking for a construction firm in all countries and in all sources. So Jose, if you can select these three for me, please. And finally, we wrote the name Constructora Meco, and I want to remark on that step because it is important to note that when we are searching for companies, it is better to not include abbreviations referring to the type of company, for example, limited company, variable capital company, or something like that, because we want to make sure that all the variations are shown. So in this case, we are going to write just Constructora Meco like Jose do, and go ahead, Jose, please. Okay, she's processing. And as we can see on this first list, they are several companies. If you can scroll down a little bit, Jose, please. Not too much, just a little bit, to see that there are several companies called Constructora Meco in different countries. And we can see this one in CICOP, the Costa Rica Public Procurement Portal, I think it's a translation. And if we open it, the CICOP one, please. Yes, we'll see, for example, there's an ID, there's an ID, and it depends on the information available in the original source, but usually we've got other useful information like shareholders, sometimes legal representative. It's not that case, but we can see a very, very useful thing for journalists that is that if the original database have contracts from the company we are looking for, they will appear in Nina. And that's an example of that. We are going deep into these contracts in another example in a few minutes. So at that time, we verified it was the company we were after, and the next step was to check if the other Constructoras Meco that appear in the first list were related to Costa Rica's one. So Jose, if you can go back to the first list, please. Yes, exactly. And we are going to select this one name. Let me see, number 13, I think it is. Constructora Meco S.A from Nicaragua Compra. Yes, this one. Here we also have an identifier, and scroll down a little bit, please. We have also a contract, and this is very relevant. We can check the information in these documents to find any coincidence. So, for example, Jose, if we can look at the first contract, you can go. Thank you. And here we have some documents attached. We also download one of these. We want to look number 5, called Contrato.
Oh, here it is.
So we have the document, and if we go to the second page, we will find information about, for example, the contractor. We have a name, this Omar Jimenez Araya. And attention, here we have the full name of the company, which is Constructora Meco, Sociedad Anónima, Sucursal Nicaragua. First clue, we know it is a branch. And moreover, if we continued reading, we know it has been constituted by a foreign company in Costa Rica called Constructora Meco, Sociedad Anónima. So we have a match. And we repeat this exercise with all the other coincidences, and this is wonderful because with the first search and saving like a lot of time, we were able to find a clue. We built up a team with other media outlets in those countries where we found Meco's branches, and we start to investigate. So really quickly, Jose, if you can go to Meco's landing page just to show what was the result, because finally, we publish a collaborative and transnational investigation composed by CIS stories. This is it. You can check on it if you want. And this could be an example about how a standard search on Nina could end. So back to the presentation, please, Jose, if you can put the next slide. Yes, perfect, this one. So the second type of structured data search we can perform is this one called bat search, which allows you to perform multiple searches. Yes, this one. It performs you to, it allows you to perform multiple searches at the same time. And we are not going to deep on this step by step in this demo because of the time, but the way it works is as follows. We have to create a CSV file with all the names we want to look for. We have to upload to Nina, and the tool is going to give us back another CSV file with all the consensus it finds. So to give you an example, if we can go back to Nina, we are going to show you a recent exercise we did for a workshop in Mexico. Workshops are the best to show how Nina works because it really took like 2 hours minimum. So we decided to make a list of all the Morena's current deputies, the political party that is in the government now. And the aim was to see if they were related to companies in Mexico or in other countries. No, so we uploaded the list, and Nina ran the search and gave us a CSV with more than 70 matches. This process, as I told you, we already done to gain time, but we want to show you an Excel with the results just to let you know how it looks like in case you want to do it sometime. And here we can, as you can see, we have the name of the deputy, the original source of the information, and a link in case we want to know more, no? So the fact that the deputies are shareholders of a companies is not per se something illegal, and it's mandatory to review case by case. But this kind of exercise can show up some interesting data that would eventually lead us to an investigation. So we came back to the presentation, Jose, please. And that would be the 2 types of searches we can perform with structured data. And Jose will explain the unstructured ones.
Thank you, Angela. So we found along the way that even though having these insights on who is visiting what companies and on what companies are being given some contracts and so on is super useful, but we found along the way that the most amount of documents and evidence that journalists gather during investigations are documents, right? So things like court files, also memos from reporting, interviews, transcripts, even videos within investigations, based in videos sometimes, some from contracts, specific contracts information. And as Semi was telling you earlier, this takes a lot of time to process. Like you spend literally weeks reading documents, you end up seeing the world a bit in letters so far. And we thought that maybe AI was useful to make this process faster. But you have 2 problems with commercially available AI, right? One is that once you feed any large language model with documents, they are out there. Your hard work, the work you aim to publish first on anyone, then it ends up being owned by who and used for for whatever reason. And the second is that you want to have this data available to your team before everyone else, and then back to the world. Having these 2 ideas in mind, these 2 limitations in mind, the tech team at Clip developed this chatbot, which is locally hosted in Clip's servers. It's not whatever happens there stays there. It's not the material that fits it. It's not going to be used for anything else. And of course, it allows us to get a lot more time to do investigations, to think about strategies to get new sources and things like that, and less time thinking on reading these documents. So, as I was telling you, this can be sorted and isolated by project. I'm going to give an example about the Odebrecht. We made a couple of years ago an investigation on what happened on the Odebrecht scandal. The Odebrecht was a Brazilian firm that basically bribed public officers all across Latin America to get public procurement contracts. It was huge. It was huge scandal. It made several presidents go to jail. It had ramifications in a lot of Latin American countries. And we uploaded for these demos the documents that were related to the Colombia investigation. Please bear in mind that the documents that fed this bot are in Spanish, yet we can easily perform a search in English. So translation comes embedded. One of the key characters in this investigation is called Otobula. So I'm going to ask this chatbot, who is Otobula? And it will think and give us an answer. Let's hope it works because we tested this a lot. Meanwhile, what it's doing, okay, here it is. So it explains you what it is, who the person is. Otto Nicolas Bula is a congressman who became a key figure of the scandal, and this is his story. A very important thing for us is that it's just not, we don't want this to hallucinate. We don't want this to make things up. So detecting developed it so it shows the references to each one of its responses. This is a document that is part of investigation that we loaded in the platform previously. Of course, this being a chatbot large language model, you have to bear in mind that it can hallucinate sometimes, so you have to double check every answer. But you can do a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff with it. For instance, tell me the fines imposed by Colombian authorities to those related to the case. Write it in a CSV format. Go. So this doesn't have the ability to export a CSV file, but if this comes out right, and I hope it will, you can just copy and paste it in a text, in any text software, and save the file as a CSV file and then upload it. So it didn't do it well, but I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes you don't. You have to keep tinkering. If you have done some query with prompt searching, prompt engineering, so as they call, you know that you can tinker with that and get what you want. This is just an opening, so you can play with this tool a lot. We're using it for car investigation, use it for fast investigations. You can feed it with anything you want. As long as it's related, you can feed it with databases, you can feed it with a lot of different documents, and you can restrict who has access to it. So I think this is an as good as it gets like solution for using chatbots in journalism with all the restrictions we have regarding to confidentiality, to property, to copyright, things like that. So this is one of the two ways we have to do unstructured search. The other one is you can directly search the documents that you have. Let's say
Okay.
again in the Alvarez case. Sorry.
Sorry, don't forget the references because they are very important when you are using the
Yeah.
chat. Yeah.
Yeah, we're telling that. I mean, when you use ChatGPT or Gemini, you don't usually get the references, or they just make it up. You can double check and cross check every single claim the chatbot does, and this is crucial for journalists. And also, sometimes you're in the position of having to link some document in your final text or show it in your final TV show or whatever. It's a lot easier to find once it's here. You can ask it something like, "What document says this?" and then it will show you if the document is part of the trove of the input files in which with the bot is being fed. So back on track. The other way we have to search unstructured data is searching documents. So this is you done here by standard search, but you can search for documents. And you can see all countries, again, all sources, but I'm going to use clip docs. Documents work a bit differently than public procurement data and databases because they are specific sets of documents that belong to specific projects. This way, as I've been telling, you can control who gets access and also what are documents that are relevant to a specific search. This ClipDocs database have I believe, Rebirth documents so far. Are here or there. You have two databases, so Rebirth and Chiquinha. I'm going to use Rebirth right now, and I'm going to say a word. For instance, the last name of a Colombian president who was kind of involved in this scandal, Juan Manuel Santos. So here it will show me a lot of documents that have the name Santos in it, and I can go and browse them via an OCR file rendered, or you can go and check document as well. The PDF, or if it's a doc file, you can download the doc file or things like that, and you have some metadata here that might be useful. You can even get the original document if you want to download it. And another thing that is very cool here is that you can do searches based on entity extraction. So I'm going to go here and press filter, and then I'm going to set up, I'll do it again. I'm going to press filter, mentions, and then here in the triangle in the corner, you can see that it already extracted a lot of entities that might be relevant for us. So I can tell it, please tell me other documents that mention this guy, Otobula, we were inquiring about a bit earlier. I'll save. And I think I'm going to go to filter here. And all these documents mention this guy, Otobula, and we can go here and see the document and see and do a quick search to see it is mentioned Otobula here and so on. So as Angela was saying, if you are familiar with Pinpoint, this does something like that, but you don't give your precious documents to Google. We are all aware that there's uncertainty regarding to what is going to do with the documents in the future. They have a huge trove of documents from people all over the world, which they promised us are confidential, and we really expect them to keep that promise. But there's risk there. But in opposite, this is something that is hosted by journalists for journalists thinking about use cases by investigative journalists, and is being developed as we speak. So it will get more and more features every day. So let's get back to the presentation. Who has been using that? As Emiliana was telling you, this has been out there for a while now, for 4 years, I'm guessing. And this is my favorite case study. This was done by a local newspaper in the Mexican-US border I forget the state right here. And this was done by a journalist that took a workshop with us in Bogota a year and a half ago, perhaps a bit less. This guy was behind the track of a company that was selling overpriced goods to a public university in Sinaloa, in Sinaloa, in the border of Mexico. And we introduced it to Nina, and promptly he started searching the people behind the company that appear as the representative of the company, and trying to find links with other companies, and he ended up connecting 315 people and 215, he called them shell companies, just out of a single clue, just out of a single lead, doing what Emmy and Angela were showing you a bit earlier. He tells us that it took days to do what it would have taken months him to do before. He's super grateful with us. And this is one of the things you can do with Nina. And the bad search, it was even before the bad search was out there, so it could be even cooler if he just built a number and did a bad search, and then it would have taken 1 day instead of 3 days. Another interesting use case was done by us. We made this investigation part of our special code, Digital Mercenaries. We knew that this guy, Carlos Ibáñez, was a political consultant from Uruguay who was involved in a famous scandal in a famous influence operation called the Barçagate. And we knew after that he was we suspected that he was probably involved in other political operations in Latin America. So the first thing we had to do was to see if this person had companies in other parts of Latin America, and he did. Just searching the name Carlos Ibáñez in Nina, as Angela was showing you. We saw him having companies in Uruguay, having interests in Mexico, in Chile, and so on. We made a story of that. Another use case by using, this is a bit different because they use procurement data. One of the first stories that was ever made with Nina was made by the Nicaraguan outlet called Divergentes. They were behind the clues of one contract of highway outside Managua that had a lot of problems and irregularities, and they just searched all the contracts related to this particular highway and also to the contractor that this highway was assigned to. And the info they found, they say it helped proving irregularities and budget mishaps and things like that in the construction project. So I hope you're enthused now. I'm not seeing the chat, but I'm guessing there's a lot of enthusiasm, and I'm guessing you want to join, right? So the good news is you can join. You'd have to go to nina.clip.org or follow the QR code on the right-hand side and create an account. Please bear in mind that the interface is in Spanish and that the data is based in Latin America. So this will be useful if this is your area of interest. And also, after that, you have to email us and tell us, hey, create an account with this email. Please don't forget, I was part of this API Virtual Newsroom session. And you tell us that, we can approve your request easier. So thank you very much to API again for hosting us. Thank you to you in the audience for listening to us. And now we are open to questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Jose and team, thank you so much for a clear and stimulating presentation. The emphasis on the user journey and the user interface and kind of the eventualities of what a journalist might be asking is really inspiring.